As you drive through Prather on your way to Shaver Lake, you'll pass an old trailer park that's easy to overlook. If you're not a regular to the area, you probably won't even remember seeing it. The brown paneled fence is unremarkable, the mobile homes unchanged for decades. Yet behind the fence, dozens of lives lazily intersect, weaving a quiet, messy, and strangely beautiful existence together as the world whisks by just to the north. It's called Sandy Creek. In 1994, my mom bought a home in the park and decided we'd make a life there. We lived less than a mile from my grandparents, and many of my schoolmates called the park home too. There was Mikey and Sammy, whose mom, Kimberly, quickly befriended mine. Carla, the tough girl who never flinched. Mike McHugh, the jock. Loop, the popular girl who lived in the nicest trailer. Ryan, the shy Australian boy. Brenna, the nerdy chick. And me, the awkward kid who talked too much. We were like an unlikely band of makeshift friends drawn together by proximity and circumstance. At the playground where the basketball court used to be, I learned how to play light as a feather, stiff as a board. I still remember watching The Good Son at way too young of an age because the old woman babysitting us saw Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood on the cover and figured it was a kid's movie. But Sandy Creek wasn't all childhood wonder. It was also a place where my relationship with my mom started to slow a painful descent. Some stereotypes exist for a reason. Trailer park life for us wasn't picturesque. I'd never seen my mom drink heavily before we moved there, but in Sandy Creek, alcohol became her constant companion. Her friends were reckless, and worse, they were mean. I don't think I ever walked into a room without instantly becoming the butt of some cruel joke. Even when she was alone, she drank. And when she drank, her words cut deeper than any blade. I could never do anything right in her eyes. Her annoyance with me turned into elaborate, almost theatrical punishments. She never raised a hand to me, but her words and her mind games were just as damaging. She wanted to break me, and she did. The most memorable of these punishments came after the burned beans incident. It was a Saturday. My mom had passed out early, a pot of beans simmering in a crock pot. Before she fell asleep, she told me to add water every hour so they wouldn't burn. Later that afternoon, a friend invited me to the pool. I woke my mom to ask her permission, and she groggily mumbled her approval. I reminded her about her beans, but she waved me off. Not an hour later, she stormed through the pool gate, rage radiating off her like heat from a pavement. "Get your lazy ass back to the house," she spat. I scrambled to grab my things, confused and embarrassed, trailing behind her as she stormed home. The beans had burned. She didn't remember giving me permission to leave. In her mind, I was just a liar, and liars didn't deserve to sleep in the house. That night, she forced me to sleep in the car. Every few hours, she came to the back door yelling things meant to terrify me. "I hope the spiders don't crawl on you," she'd taunt. "You know UFOs take kids from their cars, right?" Two things my 9-year-old brain feared more than anything. I don't remember sleeping, just shivering in the dark, eyes darting between the windows, scanning for movement. By morning, she was back to normal, if you could call her that. She didn't acknowledge what had happened. No apology, no explanation, just indifference. At Sandy Creek, I was invisible, a burden. The only thing that made life bearable was the world inside the television, where I could escape into lives that weren't my own, and of course, my friends. There was always something magical about being a kid in a place like Sandy Creek. No matter how chaotic life was at home, I could step outside, run through the dirt roads of the trailer park, and know I wouldn't be bored. That kind of freedom is every kid's dream. The foothills of the Sierra Nevadas gave us a climate where we could play outside year-round. Feeling the cool wind on my face as I distanced myself from my mother's vitriol kept me tethered to reality. But karma has a way of creeping in. One night, a brown recluse spider bit my mom on the cheek while she slept, the very thing she had used to torment me with, and came back to haunt her. The bite swelled, turned black in the center, and it took weeks to heal. The right side of her face was never quite recovered, always carrying a slight palsy. She never said it, but I think it humbled her. She slowed down on her drinking after that. Some of the mom I once knew started to resurface. We only lived in Sandy Creek for a year before she decided to move back to the city. I think deep down she realized she wasn't living her best life, and that she was robbing me of stability. While I hated that my grandparents would no longer be down the road, I was relieved. Sandy Creek had never been meant to be our home forever, and I was cautiously hopeful about my mother's sudden return to parenting. Looking back, I see that Sandy Creek was preparing me for the superhero-level emotional strength I'd need to survive later in life. It trained me to shield my heart, to endure, to power through trauma until I could find safety. It taught me how to stay level-headed, even in the most disturbing situations. That place slapped me around until I was numb, and in a sick way, I'm grateful for it. Many of my memories were obscured by the cocoon of self-preservation I wrapped around myself just to survive. But no matter how much time passes, that little community just south of Auberry Road, hidden behind the raggedy brown paneled fence, with its weathered trailers and forgotten lives, was once home. And a piece of my heart still beats there, forever.